What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you the theory and the methods and hacks that I use to write bass lines. There is a lot of information to cover in this one, but trust me, by the end of it, you'll be writing professional bass lines in no time. And those bass lines may sound a bit like this. So let's get stuck into Ableton and I'll show you exactly how to make bass lines like a pro. Okay, so we're inside Ableton now, and we're going to get stuck in and make some bass lines. Now, off camera, I have actually made one that I'm happy with, just because bass lines are always a difficult part of a track. It does take a lot of tweaking to get right, so at least I know we have an idea that we're happy with, which sounds a bit like this. I'm going to walk you through all the theory and the methods of exactly how I got to that position. Okay, so the first thing we need to understand when writing bass lines or melodies is note positioning. So we can think of this in a sense of a bar and our 16th notes. So 4 notes for every beat, and then 4 beats within one bar, creating 16 notes. Now this is important because it can really help you just dictate what style of bass line you want to go for. So the first note you need to understand is the point 3. By the point 3, I'm referring to right bang. By the point 3, I'm referring to the 1.1.3 or the 1.2.3 or 1.3.3 and so on and so forth. I'm not actually referring to the 1.3 beat, which is that one there. Now, why this is important to understand is because this is right bang in the middle of both of our kicks. So what ends up happening is we go kick, bass, kick, bass, kick, bass, kick. So you tend to get a lot of energy in your bass lines because there's no let off in low end, because it's either the kick or the bass playing with very little gap in between. Now, if you're a fan of belt trance music or any of those Brazilian tech house, this style of bass line is already going to sound fairly familiar. And you see it already has a nice bounce and feels very energetic because, as I mentioned, you're going kick, then bass, kick, then bass. Up next, you have the point 2s and the point 4s within a beat. Now, these help add a lot of groove to the track. If we think about our drums and percussion programming, these are the notes that get swung when we add swing parameters to it. And such happens when we apply it to our bass, therefore creating a looser bass line equaling more groove. So I've just shifted a few notes around, as you can see. And you'll already tell just by playing a basic 1-note pattern, the bass line will typically feel a bit more groovy. Whereas before, the space between the kick and the bass was equal every single time, now there is a slight delay, which adds this kind of skip and groove to it. And then final note position is the beats themselves. Now, these don't typically tend to add much groove to the track, nor do they add much energy, but they can really help fill out a bit of empty space, tighten a melody, and just create an overall stronger pattern. You can hear that now the melodies just sounds a bit more complete with those 2 notes in on the beats themselves. So point number 2 about writing bass lines is the note length themselves. This can really make a massive difference to the groove and the style of bass line you're going for. If you think about plucked bass lines, they're going to typically have much shorter notes. Whereas if you think about rolling sub basses, they're typically going to have sustained notes over a longer period of time. Now, there's no right or wrong, and you can do a combination of them all to create interesting and unique grooves. So we already have this one long note over here, and I'm just going to extend this and humanize it. So the reason for this is, imagine you're actually playing the keys in yourself. You wouldn't perfectly release a note every single time another 16th note comes up, just like a keyboard and mouse will. For example, if I click one in here, it's perfect to that sort of position. Whereas if I was playing it manually, I'd probably have something like that, or maybe even the opposite, where it finishes slightly before the next 16th note. There are ways you can do this in Ableton with the humanize, but I personally like doing it myself. So now I'm going to make these 3 shorter over here. So we have a roll of kind of short plucks. We have 2 fairly long notes. And then I'm going to go for 2 sort of medium length notes over here. And what it sounded like before compared to now is going to sound completely different. In fact, we could probably get another short one here. And you can tell the longer notes have this more drawn out feeling, where the shorter notes typically have this quicker feel to them. So if we shorten absolutely everything, the bass line feels a bit quicker and there's a bit more space in there for other sounds, whether that might be synths or percussion or drums. Whereas now if we extend all the notes, you get this more rolling feel to the groove because it's much more continuous. Okay, so we've covered a lot of the theory base of note length and note positioning. We can now start taking a look at the scales and how then the notes can move through the scales to create slightly different grooves. So there's several different ways you can do this. Number one, and typically the easiest way, is go to your scale, select your root note. So whether that's C, D, E, F, F sharp, it doesn't particularly matter. And from my personal experience, I don't notice too much of a difference. The only thing I'd be wary of is if you're working with a sample, let's say a vocal sample in the key of D minor, then make sure your bass line and other elements are in D minor as well. We haven't got anything like that in the moment. So for us, we're just going to go, okay, we had a note on C3, so I'm going to put C as my root note, and then you can open up the scales and choose different scales. There's many, many different scales to choose from, as you can see. Personally, I like major and minor. You can't go wrong with the two traditional ones. Thirigan is also another really good one. And minor blues and minor pentatonic are also some really good scales as well. They typically add a bit more groove to the track. So let's switch it up and choose minor pentatonic. You can see now we've got all of our notes highlighted in the scale. And if you didn't want to confuse yourself, you can turn on the scale. So now when you move any note through the scale, it's going to be in C minor pentatonic. The other way you can do this is by shifting through your notes up and down the scale in 3, 5, 7, and 12 increments. This will 9 times out of 10 work musically and be in some form of musical scale. It just means you have to then turn on your scale feature and then figure out what scale you're actually in. But the freedom can enhance some creative options for yourself and not to be restricted to a specific root note and scale. For this example though, we're going to use the scale feature. From here, what we can do then is we can start shifting our notes up and down the scale. Now there's no right or wrong to this, but if you do hit a sticking point, something to have in the locker as a tool and a method to get you out of those sticking points is to either go up the scale and then back down, or down the scale and then back up. Let me show you. So we use this exact same pattern, and I'm going to go up the scale for this note, up the scale for this one, and I go up here. So it's almost even across the bar of going up and then down. Doesn't have to though. I'm going to bring this one down there. I'm going to leave this one there, go down, and go down here. And when I play it, this will already have a nice groove to it. So you can already tell that works as a bass line. Now granted, it's not the best bass line in the world, but with some tweaking and some adjustments, I'm sure you could get that to work. And remember, all of this is theory at the end of the day. Nothing just beats being creative and in the moment and experimenting. So now let me show you what it looks like going down the scale and then back up instead of the opposite way, which we just had a look at. And for me personally, I think that has a much better rhythm bounce to it and is much catchier than going the up and down method. Okay, so now we've had a look at the fundamentals, which is the note positioning, the note lengths, the scales and the different options you have to choose, and then how your notes can move through the scale. Now that's pretty much all the theory side that I know of for writing bass lines and melodies. The rest comes down to experimentation and a few other little hacks that I have that can really help build out a strong melody. So hack number one being write a one note bass line first and then adjust through the scale from there. It's very similar to what we just done, but we're going to do it from scratch. So I'm going to find my root note that I want. So I'm going to use G2 as my root note. So for me, I'm liking that bounce already. Then what I can do is I can go and adjust maybe some of the note lengths. And that's working for me. And then I can duplicate this. So now we're going over 2 bars, and I can look to add some form of variation in. And then I can start shifting through the scale to actually start making a melody instead of just a pattern. And there you go, that worked quite nicely as a melody, and you can see exactly what I was doing. 1 note first, then adjusting the note length, and then trying different notes within the scales to see what works musically. And to go over some of the theory that we just touched on, you can see I'm going down, then up, when it's stagnant, and I'm going down, and then I'm going up, then down. So like I said, it's not as pragmatic as always going up, then down, or down, then up. You can have variations and undulations like this, but 9 times out of 10, it always does work. So then my next go-to hack for writing bass lines is in a very similar fashion. So we're going to add a 1-note pattern in first, and then we're going to move that pattern throughout the scale every half bar or every bar and create a melody that way. Let me show you what it looks like in practice. So something like that is going to be my 1-bar pattern. I'm then going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to move it either up or down the scale. That sounds good to me. And I'm going to duplicate this. And on bar 3, I'm going to find somewhere else for this to go. Maybe I'll try 1 up. And then I'm going to take this one up to here maybe. So you can see how easy this works by just getting 1-bar pattern and then moving it through the scale. Now you have a nice melody. Then you can take the same principles that we just had a look at of then moving individual notes throughout the scale and see if you can make a stronger, more interesting melody. Maybe these ones I could take up. You can see how easy this technique is to then make interesting melodies, typically over a longer period as well, such as a 4-bar or 8-bar melody. And then finally, my last hack for writing good bass lines is start with a mid-range dominant bass first. Now, the style of minimal deep tech has a lot of rolling sub basses. And that's great. It has a lot of low-end groove to it, and I personally really like it. The problem is, when you're just working with fundamentally a sub bass, you don't really hear any mid-range, so it doesn't necessarily have any melodies. It's more of just a groove, just like if you was programming percussion or some toms instead. So it's very easy to get carried away with just adding notes going throughout the scale with no indication of it actually having a strong melody, which then you can layer off of later on with your synths. Let me just show you an example of what I mean. So here is a bassline melody that I've just wrote with a sub bass, which sounds a bit like this. And it has a nice groove to it, a nice rumbling low-end sub bass with that kick popping through on top. It sounds great. But if we now went and copied this up to the previous bass preset we were just using, it's going to sound completely different, and it will probably sound a bit amateurish. See what I mean? There's no actual kind of groove to it there. It's just random notes. And that makes it very hard then to start layering other synths or bass hits on top of it to get this desired sound we want from minimal tech house music. So it's always a good idea to start with a mid-range bass like we've been working with, and then subtract frequencies to get your ideal sub bass. So let's back this up a few steps, and we have the bass line that we were previously working with, which sounds a bit like this. I could now go into sub boom bass and then adjust the cut off to taste. And there, you've got a much nicer sub bass. Now, if you wanted slightly longer notes, then you could go in here and extend them to get that more rolling feel to it. And that puts you in a perfect position then to layer synths and actually have a melody throughout the track rather than just a groovy bass line. So that's all the theory and hacks I have to offer you to get better at writing bass lines. But granted, it's not an easy task. It will always take you a bit of time, and that's exactly why off camera I went ahead and made this. So we're going to leave it there for today's episode. You now have the fundamentals and the theories and the little hacks I have to writing better bass lines. Then we'll pick up with our track from scratch in the next episode, where we'll look at the bass line I have written and start layering synths, sounds, and vocals on top of it. So I'll catch you in that video.